The Prime Minister, police and press may prefer this to pass as routine. It's not. Stopping an opposition politician at the UK border under counter-terror powers is a constitutional warning light. On Saturday, the 27th of September, yesterday, George Galloway and his wife were stopped by counter-terrorism officers at Gatwick after flying from Moscow via Abu Dhabi. Police confirmed the pair were examined under Schedule 3 of the Counter-Terrorism and Border Security Act 2019. They were not arrested. They were released the same day. Schedule 3 is not ordinary stop and search. It lets officers at ports and border areas stop, question, search, copy data from devices, detain to determine whether a person appears to be involved in hostile activity or by or in the interests of a foreign state. Crucially, there's no requirement of prior suspicion. Codes of practice set out how interviews are recorded and how protected material is treated, but the bar for initiating an examination is low. Parliament created Schedule 3 after the Skripal poisoning to counter state-backed espionage and influence operations. The intention was to give swift tools at the border against agents of foreign powers, and the risk was always mission creep from spies to dissidents, journalists and controversial politicians. We're now testing that boundary. We're now seeing that in practice. It doesn't matter whether you like or dislike George Galloway. I've always been very impressed by him. I don't share his views, but he's just been in Moscow, and earlier this year he appeared at events in Iran. His party says the stop was politically motivated intimidation. You do not need to share his worldview to grasp the symbolism. An opposition figure critical of UK and US policy, intercepted under a statute aimed at hostile state activity, then waved on. That is the sort of theatre that chills speech more effectively than any courtroom verdict. 3 issues should therefore concern us. The suspicionless nature of the stopping. Schedule 3 permits examination without reasonable suspicion. That is exceptional in UK law. It should be used rarely and explained clearly after the fact. Having device access and looking at confidential material, officers may retain and copy data with complex rules for legally privileged, journalistic or confidential business material. Even where codes exist, the practical asymmetry at a border desk is stark. And codes of practice have been tweaked as recently as 2023 and consulted on again in 2025, which is good, but real-time transparency about who is being stopped and why remains thin. In a mature democracy, the state must resist the temptation to conflate dissent with disloyalty. If Schedule 3 becomes a convenience for you have learned your lesson conversations with unfashionable critics, confidence in counter-terror policing will erode. And when the next genuine spy walks through a UK terminal, the public will be less willing to grant officers the benefit of the doubt. We are destroying our shambling terror legislation by calling elderly supporters of Palestine Action terrorists, by arresting George Galloway, a sitting MP. How many detaining George Galloway, a sitting MP. How many Schedule 3 examinations have occurred in the past 12 months, broken down by outcome and by whether any material was actually retained? How many involved elected officials, journalists or accredited party officers? Whether the Met sought or obtained authorization to retain or copy any items, and what was ultimately destroyed or returned? What threshold guidance is now given to officers about politically exposed persons? And should the Home Office publish anonymised post-incident summaries within 30 days for high-profile uses of Schedule 3? There's so much that needs to be tidied up about this law and about the potential abuse of this law. That 2 things can be true at the same time. The police may have acted within the letter of the law, and this can still be a bad look for a government that claims to cherish robust debate. If ministers want to convince us that Schedule 3 is not drifting into political policing, they should welcome sunlight. They should publish aggregate numbers, tighten suspicionless use of genuinely exceptional cases, and guarantee rapid independent review whenever power touches politicians, reporters or lawyers. You do not defend a free country by teaching its critics to fear the border desk. The power to examine at ports is sometimes necessary. It should never become normal. What happened at Gatwick may have been lawful. It was also unnecessary theatre, and the theatre is the point. And I think there's a big question. There's a big question mark here that needs answering. And I would not be surprised if George Galloway uses parliamentary privilege to define that question more clearly, and he will command a lot of support throughout the House.